recording. So I don't think Adam knows I'm using a StreamYard account, but I don't think he's using it right now. So we're all just going to record this really quietly as if he's in the other room so nobody notices we're using his account. Hey, you might have noticed now if he's watching the video. That's okay. So Waylon and I are here today. Waylon, where in the world are you this week?
Yes, so we are back in Dallas, Texas at the office in front of my screens. I feel like I'm actually productive again. Just got back from the Grand Cayman with CFG. So grateful to be back, grateful to be in front of everything.
Is it kind of like some kind of science fiction type scenario where you have just a cube of like screens and then you just answer them as if you're a drone plugged into all of them at once?
I start to feel like that after a while. Yes. Yeah. It kind of feels like a Marvel movie where I just kind of like plug into them with my hands and just think. It's not that advanced. It's actually really, really janky looking if you could see from behind me in front of me, but it works. It works for my brain.
Hey, if that's how you can get 100 things done in 100 minutes, then that's how you stay ahead of everybody else, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. So today I wanted to talk about carriers, picking a key company as a producer, picking a couple to go with it, and then the producer and carrier relationship, and then the agency and carrier relationship, because I think one of the most common questions asked is who should I sell? Why should I sell them? And when they piss me off, why can't I yell at them? So what do you think about that for today's topic?
I love it. I love it. I'm excited because I think we both have plenty of experience on all those different things you just said.
Yeah. But here's the thing. With insurance companies, products come and go, and they can come and go overnight and over the weekend. And we've just seen that take place in a few years, let alone years and years in the industry. So I think before we get into the weeds of talking about key companies, we're not going to talk names, but concepts. And the fact that if your main company goes away over the weekend, there's still plenty of other options and for you not to panic, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Companies do disappear from time to time, more regularly lately than ever, I think. And over the last 5 to 10 years, it's happened a ton. But the good news is there's always new companies popping up, and there's also the old dogs that still do a good job.
Yeah. Do you feel like, let's start with the basics, when you pick your key company as a personal producer, you have to be the dirt cheapest, lowest premium 100% of the time?
No, that's kind of I have a quoter now, and I can compare this to every other carrier scenario before you've sold anything. I fell into it. I was like, man, I got to have these carriers to do this. I can't go out there. I can't sell something that's 39 cents more expensive. It doesn't make sense until you write with the carrier that looks to be the least expensive. And you are in home office hell calling 1-800 numbers and being disconnected halfway through the call and not knowing where to go next. It's not to say there aren't some solid low-priced carriers.
Mm-hmm.
They have their niche. That's how this works. Your lead carrier, your go-to carrier doesn't necessarily and typically isn't going to be the lowest price carrier.
No. Unfortunately, that lowest price means something else is less on the table. Typically, it's lower commission. But there's a healthy balance between having a very competitive product and thinking you have to be the cheapest all the time, because it just doesn't always work that way. What are some of the good characteristics of a well-rounded core company that I should look at as a personal producer?
Definitely. There's certain things that are pillars, especially specifically in the final expense market. One is price competitiveness. Not meaning it needs to be the cheapest or the lowest cost, but it needs to be competitive. You can't write something that's at least regularly and expect to get phenomenal results as a broker that's 50, 75, 80% markup on the other companies available. If it's in the ballpark, you're doing well. So price competitiveness is very important. I don't want to act like it doesn't matter, because it does. We're talking to seniors on a fixed income. Mm-hmm. Second thing is home office support and ease of contact and ease of resolving issues that are going to arise. There's going to be times where new business doesn't go as planned, or there's a claim that needs to be filed, or you need to redraft a policy, or commissions don't look right. And being able to call and speak with someone cordially that can actually resolve the issue becomes a bigger and bigger deal. The more busy that you get, the less time you have to sit there on the phone waiting for someone to answer, the more important that becomes. The third thing that I believe to be very, very important, besides price competitiveness, competitiveness, home office support, and communication is most definitely, a blend of contract level, quote unquote, upward mobility and the ability to communicate and when making changes, they do a good job of parlaying that through the agent force. Some carriers have made changes and it was very seamless because of the way that those changes happened. They let the field know, they let you know how it was going to change, and we were prepared for it. Some carriers don't tell you anything and they just kind of poof, they're gone. When that happens, it's really difficult, even if they come back out, to say, I can't wait to write that carrier that disappeared in 2019. It's going to be great. It doesn't really make you very confident that it's going to be great the second time around if it's anything like the first time. So those things are important. There's a million things on a list that you could make, but those are kind of the key factors that I try and look for when choosing a carrier.
So what about as a brand new agent, I need to get paid quickly, but I want to make sure I'm writing a competitive product. Do you think it's important that your main carrier pays on issue versus draft versus how do you think that would be picked out?
Absolutely. So one thing I didn't mention is definitely product specifications. You need to ensure that product that you choose does, fits all the boxes that I mentioned, but also that it takes a lot of clients on level coverage and has, I think you need to choose a product with some kind of layers or tiers to it to get started. You need to have kind of a catch-all. I say that to say, yes, on the commission side, you likely getting started, unless you're the 1% that start and have money in the bank or a lot of money. If you're like everyone, even myself, circa 2016, having a carrier that pays on approval is very important. Mm-hmm. Having a carrier that their commission cycle makes sense is very important. Predictability is very important. If you have a carrier that you write on Tuesday and sometimes it pays on Wednesday and other times it pays on the next Wednesday, then that's tough. But if you have a carrier that everything you write gets paid on Monday, I think you know what carrier I'm talking about there, Chris. It's nice. It's predictable. You have something to know, okay, I'm getting this deposit in my account. I can buy my leads. I can go to work. It just creates a little bit more confidence. So the commission side is extremely important because some carriers are phenomenal at it. Some carriers aren't.
It's almost becomes a paycheck kind of thing where, Monday afternoon you're getting paid. I have another carrier. We're not using names in the video for the sake of compliance. That also I set up on weekly pay and they pay me Monday evening. Yep. I think that's not a bad option. Like if you're transitioning from a W-2 position, you've got like maybe $7 or $10, not zero. Like a weekly pay might be what you're used to and might actually push you to work a little harder because those weekly deposits tend to be a little bit bigger than those day-to-day ones too.
Yep. They're larger and it saves time because as a new agent, I spent hours like in the field in between appointments calling carriers to see when I was going to get paid. Mm-hmm. Like I was just like so fiending over that $1,200 that I thought I was going to make. Like I got to have it. Knowing it's coming on Monday night is kind of, it's woosah. Let's relax a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the difference as maybe this video is being watched by a captive agent and they've been sold on the sizzle. The things that make up for the fact that their product is not that competitive. And they're thinking to themselves, I think I want to go become an independent agent. I want multiple products. I want to service my clients better. But I've become dependent on this sizzle or this discount card or this gimmick instead of the actual product. What would you recommend somebody do in that situation?
The number one thing, do your research. Regardless of what the gimmick is or what you've been trained that makes the system that you believe that you're in different than anything that's available out there. Knowledge is power. The more research you do, you recognize that not the only one that offers those types of programs. They're available elsewhere typically. And it's just the system is great. It's not to say that the system that you may have is not a great system, but it can be duplicated with a 40% higher contract in most cases. Mm-hmm. And with the superior product in the majority of cases as well. Now, it's not to say there aren't some unique scenarios with certain things, not taking away from any one carrier's uniqueness or system that they've built because there has been some phenomenal systems built. Mm-hmm. Again, doing your research, obtaining the knowledge from people that live this and do it every day, it's there isn't much that's unique. There's different products and different scenarios that typically are superior for the client in a brokerage space, comparatively speaking, from a captive space. There really aren't many products that are superior. And as far as services and add-ons and additional benefits, those are all available to us as a broker now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take it from a different perspective. Maybe there's an agent watching this video who's an independent agent, wants to make a transition to a different marketing organization, but they're afraid that they know they're not going to get a release, but now they don't know what they're going to do next.
Yep.
Waylon, I want to leave my agency. I know I can get better commission levels, but I'm used to writing company A, B, and C. What's it going to look like if I make a transition and I don't get a release?
Yeah, I mean, listen, first things first, change is hard. People don't like to change. It's hard to get over the hump of like, I've written this carrier for 18 months and they're my favorite. That's tough. I get it. It's really hard to get out of the habit of writing what you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
However, if the change is more important to you, you will learn to write different carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of the industry now is with the competitiveness over the last couple years, even the bottom tier or middle tier carriers have become not just useful, but really good. Like what used to be your bottom third or like middle third carriers now, if they're your lead carrier, you're not really losing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So agencies have exclusive relationships with companies. There's just so many useful products that if you need a new lead carrier, it's almost guaranteed someone somewhere where you're going probably has a company that's really useful that you don't even know exist. Yeah. So, getting new carriers, getting new relationships with carriers, it's your new FMO or IMO probably has someone other than the guys you hear about over and over and over again.
Yeah. Let's talk about fixing problems, because sometimes as an agent, we get frustrated over the fact that we can't get a problem fixed. And we tend to take out our frustration on somebody making average American salary that simply answers the phone from their home at this point in the world and really can't do much about your particular problem. You know what I'm talking about. What do we do in those kind of situations?
Listen, again, like the first thing we all need to do, and this is something I always pride myself on, and because I get it. Look, I used to work at a grocery store. Before that, I worked at a blueberry farm. I really wasn't. It was an hourly thing. I could have put in a lot more effort like I do now because I don't get paid per the hour. I don't even know how I get paid. I feel like a truck driver sometimes just driving around. I'm like, well, I'm getting paid today. So you have to be cognizant of like, they aren't going to get paid more or less for how quickly or slowly they answer the call and help you.
Mm-hmm.
The world doesn't, rise and set on your behind, like my grandparents would say. So taking that into perspective is important. The other part of it is recognizing that some carriers don't even have a person you can call. Quite literally, there are companies out there that just don't have people. They don't have a people. That doesn't exist. Being grateful that there's even one person that can be called is awesome. And thirdly, when you find a carrier that answers the phone fairly quickly and actually resolves the majority of the problems you have when they do answer, just be grateful. That's all I'm saying. Be grateful, be gracious, and don't take that for granted because it's a big deal. It's really nice to make a call. You need to redraft a policy. Can be an absolute nightmare with some companies.
Mm-hmm.
Some companies where it's the most simple procedure you've ever done in your life, where it's just simple, like it's just done.
Yeah.
When you work with those companies, I can tell you when you're writing, like Chris is writing, like a lot of agents are writing, hundreds of thousands of dollars of business a year over time, it just keeps you sane.
Mm-hmm.
Because you write a bunch of business with a carrier that doesn't know how or doesn't have a procedure for redrafting or reinstatement or anything like that, good luck. You're going to go nuts. I promise.
Yeah.
Eventually you're going to yell at somebody on the phone and things aren't going to be great.
I get these emails from carriers that have a notification that something's lapsed, and either I have to go through 13-factor authentication to figure out what it was, or I have to decode the policy number off of a spreadsheet. I'm not going to do it. I would like to service the policy, but I do not have the time. Can you just email me and say, Mary Smith, NSF, policy number, address, phone number? Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Or even better, I used to love when they would just send me a letter,
Yep.
an actual physical letter, and I could put it with my notes for the day and go bring the letter. And it helps you keep track of stuff, and
Yep.
understanding what company suits your personality is important too. I learned as an agency owner and growing that I might particularly despise that company, but it might be somebody else's favorite for the exact same reason I hate it.
Yep.
So just because you might not like it doesn't mean it might not suit somebody else a little bit better. Understanding in the carrier dynamic that sometimes the person that answers the phone can't fix your problem, and sometimes you need to lean on your upline and their relationship with that manager to fix a problem. Can you speak to that from an agency perspective?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So again, I pride myself pretty heavily on building good, strong relationships with our carriers, with the reps, kind of, abiding by their guidelines and rules, and can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, it has paid not only dividends, but I mean, it's been amazing, with the right carriers. They'll do things for you. They'll support you in ways that they wouldn't support a group that may write more business than you, but they're a pain in the butt. Just by being cordial, handling your business and being polite, just doing the simple things, really, that's really all they're looking for. If you really take a step back from it and pay attention, like, they don't want anything out of the ordinary. They just want it to be simple and easy for them to do business with you. As long as you do that, it will, help you grow your business so much more quickly, so much more smoothly. And when little hiccups come up or issues arise that are just weird, because there's weird ones that come up, whether it be debts or bad business or whatever, those relationships are really nice when those types of things happen, because you got somebody to call and figure it out with, versus being in that mental jail of crap. Now what? I got to figure this out alone. So the relationships with the carriers is brutally important.
I'll tell a quick story because relationships can be helpful. I'm working with an agent, picking up a carrier that people haven't heard of very often, but works well in certain situations. And they're like, I can't get my back office fixed. And when I call, they can't fix it. I'm like, well, we have to email Nancy, and Nancy will set up a time. We'll get on Zoom. We'll bring Katie on the call, and we'll walk you through it. You just got to know the right person to fix the problem. And relationships and connections can get that kind of thing done.
Yep.
A couple other myths or things that we might be able to dispel. I need to sell a name brand company. If Miss Betty hasn't heard of the company, she's not going to buy. And the reason she's not buying from me is because she's never heard the company. What do you do in those situations?
Yep. So one thing I tell new agents all the time, I miss field training because of this, because this is one of the topics that we cover every time I field train. Look, having the company is just as powerful as selling the client the company. Part of the presentation is, I'm a broker. What does that mean? I work for you, not the insurance company. I represent all the different companies in the area to help get you the very best plan for you based off of your situation, right before we go into the fact finding. So guess what? When we show them that I represent carrier XYZ, ABC, you've heard of this one, this one, this one. You name the ones they've heard of, and then we all know the ones you name. Everybody names the same darn ones. But guess what? I also represent a bunch of small ones that you've probably never heard of. Reason for that is they may have better rates for the same thing, and they may be better for your situation. Then just do your job. Having the name brand is just as powerful as selling it. Just because you write them up with a name brand isn't going to keep Jimmy John, the agent who's got the non-name brand that's $27 cheaper in day one coverage, from replacing you.
Yeah.
So I just say that to say that, because that's the fact. I mean, again, name brands are important. I'm not saying they're not. Having a name brand is powerful. Just name dropping carriers is, we do it every presentation. Sure. Everybody should. Doesn't mean you got to sell it though.
Mm-hmm. I remember I heard a video of somebody saying, because our company advertises on TV so often and your clients see our name, it's going to build persistency. I'm like, I don't really believe that's the case, because I've replaced you while your commercial is on. I don't think that's exactly accurate. One more thing here. My IMO or my agency wants me to push this discount card that doesn't make me $1 when I give it out, versus I understand that there's something to do with Medicare out there that allows me to help them, serve them, and make me money. What should I do? The discount card or understand Medicare in my business?
Listen, Medicare, that's not even a question to me. It's simple. Medicare. Why wouldn't you do Medicare? You're sitting with the same people. If you start to do Medicare, it actually lowers your cost of doing business significantly. Just adding Medicare. Essentially, if you just add Medicare and you suck at it, your first year, you may basically bring your lead cost to zero. If you just suck at it and you just start randomly asking and doing it the right way, doing it compliantly, which is not hard to do. Your lead cost will essentially go to zero if you're not any good.
Mhm.
That's how you should look at Medicare. Do you want a $0 lead cost and to make your final expense money all profit? We'll do Medicare. That's how you do that. And it's just about how you mentally gauge things. But the discount thing is cool. Don't get me wrong. It's a good way to get indoors. It works, but you don't get paid for it.
No.
You don't get paid for like getting people to cut down on their electric bill or cut down on the Dish Network or what. That doesn't pay you.
Old one there.
It pays you by selling final expense. But guess what? You put $120 a month in someone's check from their Part B premium, get paid $301 a year for it, and write them a final expense. That's really getting paid.
Oh yeah, that's one of the funnest. That's not a real word. Tricks.
That's how exciting Medicare is. We make
that's real. You can actually do that. But here's the thing. Yeah, when I was relatively new to the Medicare concept, I figured out the most simple way to do it, and I still picked up plenty of low-hanging fruit. One relatively competitive name brand product with a dual eligible plan, and you're still going to stumble into duals that you can change, duals that never had anything, T65s, true ups. Like, you don't have to be contracted with 82 different Medicare carriers to at least enter the concept into your business. So that's the beauty of what you do, is when it isn't what's going to pay your mortgage like final expense will, adding just one or two toys on the Medicare side can still make you relatively competitive, right?
Absolutely. It's almost better to start with one or two. Every market has a ringleader pretty much, and then a B, a 1A, 1B, and then there's a bunch of C, B, D, E, F, Gs. That's kind of how Medicare works. That's why it's nice. And now with the technology that's offered, it's like you don't even really, it isn't like final expense where you need a toolkit now to even do anything. You use Sunfire and just type stuff in a computer and hit the enroll button and poof, you're done. It's crazy.
It really is that easy. So for the sake of time, we're going to cut it at this point here. Guys, if you got anything out of the video, comment below something you liked about it. If you thought something was inaccurate, disliked it, disagreed with it, comment below. Any level of interaction is good interaction. Give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. Hey, share it to somebody who you think might need to hear what we talked about over the course of the last 22 minutes. Waylon, thanks for being here, and hopefully we'll do another one for the audience sometime soon.
Thanks, Chris.